Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're diving straight into one of the most incredible, defining historical turning points ever recorded. We're looking at a monumental clash, a moment where the ultimate standard-bearer of truth comes face to face with an incredibly arrogant king. It's a classic story, right? Pure intellect versus raw, tyrannical power. And today we're going to map out exactly how this unbelievable confrontation unfolded.
Now, just to quickly set the stage and recap our last explainer, we traced Prophet Ibrahim's, peace be upon him, profound journey in seeking the absolute truth. We looked at how he saw right past the societal norms of his time. He didn't just worship celestial bodies or stone statues like everyone else. He arrived at the undeniable conclusion of a single, unseen creator. But here's the thing. That search for truth wasn't just an internal philosophical exercise. Not at all. It was actually the prologue to the epic physical confrontation we're unpacking today.
Section 1. The Clash of Powers. Okay, let's dive into this and really understand the opposing forces at play before the spark ignites.
So we have a really stark contrast here. On one side, you've got Prophet Ibrahim, a man completely rooted in absolute humility. His entire worldview is based on the belief in one supreme creator, which makes him the absolute standard-bearer of truth. And then, on the exact opposite side, we have King Nimrod. Nimrod wasn't just some wealthy monarch, you guys. His arrogance literally touched the sky. He had this ultimate fragile ego masked as actual godhood. He reached a point of absolute delusion where he actively claimed to be divine. So you have absolute humility squaring off against absolute arrogance. It's a powder keg, and honestly, something has to give.
Section 2. The Empty Idol Temple. This brings us right to the physical setting of our narrative, and the timing here is absolutely critical to how everything goes down.
Let's walk through the timeline of this particular day because it's fascinating. In the morning, the entire city practically empties out for a massive local festival. The people leave town, and more importantly, they leave their temple totally unguarded. So by midday, Ibrahim steps into this grand temple. Just imagine the eerie, profound silence of that midday moment. He's standing there, completely surrounded by dozens of carved stone statues that his entire society actually worshipped as divine gods. And by the afternoon, well, he takes an axe. And he doesn't just strike stone, he literally strikes the very foundations of this entire societal falsehood.
Section 3. Shaking the society's intellect. Let's slow down for a second here, because it's so easy to just view what happens next as simple property destruction. But doing that completely misses the deep wisdom and the brilliant intellectual reasoning behind his actions.
Look closely at how deliberate his actions are. He doesn't just go in and wildly swing the axe around. Instead, he systematically and intentionally breaks all of the smaller idols, dismantling these objects of worship one by one. But then, he abruptly stops. He leaves the single biggest idol completely intact, not a single scratch on it. And to cap it all off, he takes the very axe he used to destroy the others and he places it squarely on the shoulder of that largest remaining stone figure.
Now, what's really interesting about this is it presents a massive overarching question. Why leave the biggest idol intact? Think about it. If your goal is destruction, why stop early? Why take the time to stage this highly specific scene with the axe?
Well, the answer is what we call the masterstroke. This wasn't merely a silent protest, and it definitely wasn't just an act of vandalism. It was a highly calculated, utterly brilliant act designed explicitly to shake the intellect of his society. By leaving the axe on that biggest idol, Ibrahim was setting a logical trap. When the people returned, he was going to force them to ask the giant idol what happened. And when the idol inevitably couldn't answer, they would be forced to face the logical absurdity of worshiping a stone that can neither speak nor defend its fellow statues. Think about how applicable that is even today. Sometimes the most powerful way to defeat a false narrative isn't to just yell over it, it's to force people to see its own logical gaps for themselves.
Section 4. The Court of Nimrod. Naturally, an act of this magnitude does not go unnoticed. The public discovers the shattered idols, the logical trap is officially sprung, and the narrative accelerates straight to the highest power in the land.
So, Ibrahim is summoned directly into the royal court. This is it, the ultimate confrontation. And what does Ibrahim do? Does he cower? Not at all. Instead, as the historical sources detail, he presents undeniable, irrefutable arguments for a single creator right to Nimrod's face. He uses pure logic, reason, and the very events that just went down in the temple to completely dismantle Nimrod's claim to godhood, proving once and for all that true power only belongs to the one unseen creator.
Section 5. Preparing the Great Fire.
So the crucial point here is how a tyrant actually responds when they are intellectually cornered. When undeniable logic defeats an arrogant ruler, physical escalation is almost always the immediate result.
Just notice how incredibly rapid Nimrod's escalation is here. First, his anger reaches the seventh sky. The guy is absolutely furious. Second, his entire illusion of false godhood feels profoundly threatened by this single, steadfast man. And because he knows he cannot win the argument with intellect, he jumps right to step 3. He orders a terrifying, massive bonfire to be built. It's ironically revealing, isn't it? The so-called supreme god of the land is so intellectually defeated by just one man that he resorts to throwing a massive, lethal tantrum.
The royal decree is issued with lethal intensity. Use agme daldo. Throw him into the fire. This quote marks a definitive shift in our explainer today. We have officially moved from a philosophical debate, from a clash of logic and an empty temple, straight into the deployment of absolute lethal force by the state.
And you have to understand, this wasn't just some regular fire. The historical texts literally refer to it as Nar-e-Nimrod, the fire of Nimrod. Wood was frantically gathered from every single corner of the city. The entire society was mobilized to create this historic, massive bonfire. It was specifically designed to be a spectacle. Nimrod wanted it to be so large, so utterly terrifying, that it would serve as a definitive message of death to anyone who ever dared to question his supreme authority ever again.
And this brilliantly illustrates the ultimate limit of tyranny. Just look at Nimrod's illusion here. He threw every single ounce of earthly power into creating a message of death. He actually thought he controlled the elements. He thought he controlled life and death itself. But the unseen reality? He had absolutely no idea what Allah was about to turn that fire into for Prophet Ibrahim. Nimrod's power stopped exactly where divine reality began. Which leaves us standing right at the edge of this incredible cliff. The trap is set, the fire is raging, and the standard-bearer of truth is about to be cast into the flames. So, will truth safely emerge from this fire? What actually happens when absolute earthly power collides head-on with absolute divine protection? Well, that is a fascinating reality we will unpack in our next explainer. Until then, keep questioning, keep learning, and thank you so much for joining me to explore this incredible historical narrative.